let's meet today's guest, Rachel. Hello, how are you? You okay?
Hi, I'm really well, thank you.
Good. So what we always say to people before we get into the questions, everything else, we ask everybody the same set of questions. We get a good aspect of what's happening across Wales and the implementation of the Future Generations Act.
Okay.
So what I'd love to start with is, who are you? What you're all about? Well, where are we today? And a little bit about Valleys to Coast, please.
Sure. Who are you and where'd you come from?
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much, yeah.
So I'm Rachel. So I work for Valleys to Coast Housing Group. We're a large social housing provider in Bridgend, and we're building into Romford-Cynon-Taf and also Cardiff. So hopefully we'll be taking over large pockets of South Wales. We've got a mix of stock around the county, predominantly in Bridgend, but we've also got lots of land. We're a large landowner. We've got lots of green spaces, like some fantastic areas like today.
Yes.
We've also got lots of grey spaces, like old garage sites, because we were the first stock transfer from the local authority over 20 odd years ago. So up until quite recently, we just mowed our grass and we just picked up fly tipping from our spaces. But we wanted to look at our natural assets and work out what's viable, what's possible. How can we utilise these spaces better for the future generations of Wales? So we did a feasibility study a few years ago, and we worked out what is possible on our sites. You know, how can we improve carbon capture? How can we introduce and improve biodiversity? Food growing, you know, we're in a food poverty crisis, you know, socioeconomic issues, and also how can we get places that people and communities can actually come together. So that mental health and well-being, how can they come out and enjoy our spaces? So we're here today in Kevin Glass, in Bridgend, and it's not raining.
It's beautiful.
So you must
it's
have brought,
quite nice.
You must have brought the sunshine with you.
I know.
It's there behind the clouds.
I kind of like it like this. It's bright. It's not in my face. Even though my eye is watering like crazy this morning, I'm like, maybe it's the hay fever, but it's perfect temperature for filming. So you did bring the right weather. 100%.
We did, and it's because of the trees. So we're here in Kevin Glass, and what is this? So we're standing in front of two of our tiny forests here in Bridgend. Coedwig Cwtch is the name of a community group that we set up a couple of years ago, and they actually named and planted this forest and the other one. Now, a tiny forest is a really cool Japanese method of tree growing. So obviously in Japan, land is of premium. So this method accelerates the growth. So what is a tiny forest?
Yes, what is it?
What is a tiny forest? This is one. So it's about a tennis court size area. It can be any shape. This shape was designed with the local primary school, which is about 200 yards up the road, with their eco club. And they designed the shape and pathway for this one. It's 600 native trees, planted with different canopy layers. And within about 10 years, they'll be full height. I know, it's really exciting. So we have a pathway in, we've got an interpretation board and a QR code. We want to invite people in. These are not a standalone entity. We want people to use the space. Our interpretation board tells you exactly what species we've planted. And it encourages, please come in and have a look. And in addition to the forest, we've got a community outdoor space, like a covered area. So the eco clubs from the local primaries use that as their outdoor classroom. We have seating, but very much we want these places to be spaces where, you know, local residents and just people interested in trees and biodiversity can come together. When we did extensive consultation to get grants. So the Heritage Lottery very generously gave us £250,000 to design tiny forests and food growing areas as part of our Growth for Good project. But part of that was evidence in need. So when we think back to the future generations where the allotment list is longer than your leg, you know, people, you know, you can't get an allotment for love nor money. So we want, you know, we knew we got lots of space and we had a need. So that's where the Growth for Good project really started.
And you know, what's amazing about this site, when you find these projects, normally they're tucked away, out of reach, out of sight. You've got to travel there by car, you've got to go to a country park, you'll sort of see them there. But this is, from viewer, you should have seen it in the story, we're right in the middle of a housing estate in just a green patch area, and it's just beautifully connected, and there's a growing space over there. Right, come on, let's get into it then. You've sort of hit on some of these questions, which is beautiful. So how does your work contribute to a more sustainable and prosperous Wales? And can you give me one real example of how that thinking has influenced the decision you've made today? Now, we can sort of just pick up what you've sort of just talked already, which is this place here.
Sure.
Connecting people to it. We sort of talked earlier on about people not having access to cars potentially, you know, when they're in these sorts of situations, and just the pressures of life. So being able to bring these sort of spaces to them and give them access and passive learning. You might want to talk about the little area over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, learning, that was a key element. I think we were really keen from the start that any area that we develop, whether it's tree growing or food growing and planting, is that residents had the skills and the knowledge. You know, what we found, a lot of people were keen to do some stuff, but they weren't quite sure where to start.
Or knowledge gaps, isn't it? Yeah.
So part of our project is we always put interested residents on a level 1 horticultural course in the local Pencoed College. And that enables the skills and the expertise and the time to have a go. You know, have a grow. You can't really kill anything.
Have a grow, I like
Just
that.
have a grow. So that was a really key element for us. And I think that for that sustainability element of all of these sort of these areas. And what we didn't want to do as a social landlord, we were really mindful that we don't want to just parachute in and gentrify you. You know, aren't you lucky? We've improved your space.
This lovely bit of infrastructure here.
Yeah, aren't you lucky that you're part of it? You know, so our residents and our tenants have been with us literally from before we even got the funding.
Amazing.
So the design, how would you use the space? You know, what are the gaps? What would be missing? Like you said, you know, where are they? Can you get here if you've got some friends who live, you know, down the road? Is it on an active travel route? So
there's a bus stop right
there
outside
is a bus
it as well.
stop, yeah.
I mentioned that. I was like, it's amazing to have that access, no matter where you are. As we said earlier, you could be having an event that's not directly linked to this space, but because you've put the infrastructure in for it, and there's a means to come here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you know, this is the start. I mean, it's, you know, we're delighted that we've been very lucky that we've had a really prolific, interested group of residents. They've set up a WhatsApp group at the start, and literally within weeks it just blew up.
I think that's because you've invested in them though, you know, because the green area site is, what would we call that site over there? It's like a cutch.
It's called Compost Cutch.
Compost Cutch. Growing area.
That's and it's a community garden.
Community garden.
Yeah. So the community garden, obviously, it's got a number of raised beds. It's got the biggest polytunnel known to man, which is amazing. But fundamentally, though, it's got areas that people can come together, sit down, relax. And what we've found, there's a number of people who use the garden who are green-fingered, who want to grow. But there are a number of residents who just want to come and just chat. So there's coffee and tea. They can just come and have a chat. So you don't, So I think what is really interesting with these spaces is that you don't have to be green-fingered. You can just want to come and just connect with people.
Well, as you said, you've got the multi-generations in a community. You've got a children's area, which we talked about, a seating area, polytunnel. The amount of, I can't even count, I think maybe 20 raised beds of all different heights and sizes. So there's enough infrastructure in there to suit everybody's needs and palates. Some people just want to cook and maybe create some food in there. Some people just want to connect their children to nature, just have that exposure. But they're all in the same space, all mixing together, which is all good for like social cohesion and them all getting on.
Yes.
And even if you have, let's say, 8 community leaders to begin with, and when you say community leaders, people who just want to get involved, that will grow over time, because if they're selling plants, they might sell a plant, to somebody who's not involved. That person goes, this plant's amazing. How do I want to get involved in that? So hopefully 2-3 years time, because I'm right in saying that's only been open for a year. So it's going to take 3 years for it to bed in, for all the beds to mature, all the rest of it. This is only 2 years old, and it already is beautiful and amazing. But when you get to year 5, this is going to be above our heads, and it's all going to bed in, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And I think for us as a social landlord, what we've found has been one of the key success factors is that we've been patient with the resident group. We don't want to be, and never wanted to be, too prescriptive. You have to have a lease. You've got to have all these insurance is in place. We're really mindful that these opportunities and these permissions to use our spaces, it's quite a different tack for a lot of housing associations and landowners. And we didn't want to overburden and over worry,
Yeah.
put too much pressure
Put
on
40
people.
raised beds and like crack on.
And so we're nurturing these groups. We're nurturing the land, but we're also nurturing the people.
Yeah.
Because it's a very new endeavour for us as a landowner.
Yeah.
But also for a lot of the residents to get involved.
And there's learning involved in that as well.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing that you really hit on was a level 1 in horticulture.
Yeah.
If it just gives you the foundation knowledge, and anybody who does sustainability, any leader in sustainability, they will say themselves, there was incremental, their change in life. They didn't just become a leader overnight. They didn't become this sustainable maniac like I am at the moment. I feel like I am anyway. But it's all incrementally. It happens over years. Same with this. If this starts them off, and the interesting thing with social housing is a lot of people, it's like semi-permanent to a certain extent. They will stay here for a generation. They're not just going to every 6 months a new social home come in. It depends on people's circumstances and where they want to be, etc. But a lot of people, they do stay here for an amount of time.
Oh, they do. And we chat with a number of residents, particularly near this site, and a lot of our tenants have been in their homes for generations.
Yeah.
They love where they live, and from my perspective, this is placemaking at its best. Where our residents and tenants are directly influencing what we do with spaces for them. So I mean, it's been remarkable what just some patience, a little bit of money, and then that permission for residents to get involved. So we have, like I said, we haven't been too prescriptive. We've just, this is only the first proper growing season that the garden has got, because we had a few delays with some timber last year, for example, and some contractors. So this is their first proper season, and we haven't said to the groups, look, you need to produce X amount
2 kilos of cauliflower.
Look, they don't have KPIs.
That's amazing.
So they are growing, but they're maturing so rapidly. They've got it's fine.
I love it.
It's like that or sort of really big bee. But they've
solitary bees allowed these days.
Sorry,
carry on.
But already they've got designs on potentially maybe next year of maybe setting up a social enterprise. That they've got a plant sale going on now. They're trying loads of different products to grow.
And that could be a summer fete. There could be so many different things. And we're in a field right now that hasn't been mown yet, which is partly due to your new regime of mowing, which is perfect. I've already shown you some meadow plants in here, which I ate as well. And I was like, look, you can eat this. I'm not. Maybe I should have washed it first. But there we go. I don't care. But if people connect to the garden in there, they connect out here. So right now they might go, why hasn't it been mowed? What is going on? It hasn't been kept. But in 2-3 years' time, they might go, this is an amazing meadow. I want it to be mowed into a path. I want to have a shop. And that sort of leads you on to my second question. And this is what's nice about an interview that's so strong, or a guest who's so strong. You sort of answer these questions as we go. So I sort of talk us through it a little bit, and then we'll hit into it. So it says, what do you actually do? And I was at helping Wales move to a net zero circular thinking. So the way I sort of see it already is that education, involving the residents here, giving value to green space. So instead of it being mowed and having monoculture, you're allowing new species to come through, all the bees and all the biodiversity, the carbon sinks you sort of talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, fundamentally, the utilising our spaces for carbon capture and really boosting biodiversity was a key factor in us developing these sort of these sites, but also for that longer term piece for residents, and that social value element. So for that circular economy, as it's the community garden, they've had numerous donations and upcycling. Our grant provided the bare bones of a garden. Timber for raised beds, sheds, polytunnel, but everything else you see in that garden, for example, it's been donated, it's been upcycled, it's been recycled. And also what we have now as a landlord, we've got 2 or 3 on this particular site, some amazing community-led projects that we can work with our contractors. So when we look at our community benefits and our social value offer, we can say, look, we've got a site here. We've got, a group. There's about 86 people on the WhatsApp group, from nothing, who are interested in being involved. What can you give us? How can you work with us as a contractor, for your social value and impact? And we can bring them down. We can say, look, if you want to support us by giving labour, materials, throw us a bit of cash.
Volunteer day.
A volunteer day, it's great for us as a large employer that we can really evidence with our contractors, how social value and that direct community benefit can really make an impact.
Yeah, and you know, that's an amazing example as well. And for me, what sticks out there is collaboration. And these days, as you sort of said from the start, it's not really about partnership anymore. As in coming in, delivering a project, and then leaving like a satellite, you know, and going, your problems are solved. Which was a very like 90s, early 2000s approach, you know. And as soon as funding dried up, it would disappear, and then the residents would feel sort of betrayed to a certain extent. And actually the problems would return, and they'd actually be worse because they just feel like, well, the only way we're going to get out of this is if we have more of the same, and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And you know, we've been really mindful as a landlord across all of our functions, not just in sort of sustainability and community regeneration, that we're really striving to move away from being a transactional landlord to being a restorative landlord. You know, and I think this project is a really pertinent example of, you know, given permission, given some time, and not set into strict parameters or expectations, but nurturing, you know, and like you mentioned, you know, a lot of these projects, and you know, when we interact with our tenants and wider stakeholders, you know, in the community, you know, we need to be patient, because they need to be patient. You know, we have trust, but you know, these sort of projects, they build and instill trust, and it's organic. It takes time.
That is perfect, and I think that just shows you where collaboration works. Is again, you're saying all the right things, because it does take time to embed these things. When you went for funding with the lottery, you know, the fact you'd start the project beforehand would have been a massive benefit to getting the funding in the first place. Because a lot of people who go, we want funding, we're not going to start until the funding's here. Well, it's really hard for a funder then to see how to fund it, because how can they see that it's going to work?
Yes.
But if you can bed it in straight away, and then there's lots of benefits then for you as an housing association by having projects like this for antisocial behaviour and for looking after the sites and respectability and that community cohesion. So all those little issues that might come out of because a community just doesn't feel respected, doesn't feel looked after, doesn't feel invested in. You're doing the exact opposite. And as you say, it takes time. Because nobody likes change. Nobody. As humans, we are built not to like change. But if you can do it in a way that you're taking people with you, you're investing in them, you're showcasing, you will get to begin with leaders, you know, in whatever project, whether it's this one, whether it's the one over there, whatever. You'll have all different types of people who lead in these sort of ways. But if they are engaged and enriched in the way that they want to be, then that it just sort of goes everywhere else across the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our consultation, I mentioned, you know, we did extensive consultation for any grant application. You know, you need evidence need, and it needs to be genuine, because it will not succeed, you know. But if there is that need and that desire, then you've got those are the foundations that then you know we can build on to make a really successful project. And you mentioned sort of eyes on. I mean, here, for example, it's a fabulous sort of village green
right in the middle
shape. You
I
know,
think I'll show this one. I feel like there's people watching us, but
it is a little bit.
But it's great.
And do you know what? We probably have got eyes on, and that's great, because we want and need that natural surveillance.
Yes.
You know, of residents, and I know, you know, we've got a number of residents locally who they might not get involved day to day, but they'll keep an eye on stuff. You know, and that's where the WhatsApp group really helps, because you know, when we talk about how can we help groups communicate, you know, as professionals we use email or you know,
I use WhatsApp quite a lot, I gotta be honest.
But that was the linchpin. We put it to them, how can we communicate with you? What's going to be the best way? And let's be honest, I don't know many people who are not on WhatsApp.
True.
My dad, who's 81, he's a dab hand on WhatsApp. So they set the group up because it's so easy, available. It's on your phone.
It's accessible, isn't it?
It's a really accessible.
You can do a voice note if you have accessibility issues. You can type. You can, and on your phone these days, there's so many different apps to help you get a message across as well.
Absolutely.
So that sort of leads me on to a really good question. Then is, what challenges have you faced? And how do those challenges affect the next generation coming through in Wales? So it's a bit of a bigger question. The challenges of what you're trying to do across site. Maybe you can use the last 20 years as an example of that to help you through the challenges that you've come up against and what you're hoping to try and achieve to help the next generation.
I suppose a challenge is when we start chatting with our communities is always managing expectations.
Yes.
That I think for me that's really key, because obviously as a landlord, you know, we turn up with a badge, well, whoever we are, and of course, you know, that comes with a lot of weight.
Yes.
You know, a lot of our tenants will have, you know, maybe some issues with the roof or the kitchen, so you know there's it's difficult to convey for a lot of our tenants initially that, you know, look, you know, we're here to try and get extra funding to do some stuff outside, and then manage the expectations of that. So that's really key. And I think all through all stages of project development and management and subsequent post grant award, you know, we're really key to be mindful of that. And what's been a real success factor for us is having a project officer part-time. He happens to be a horticulturist, so that was just a bit of good timing. A win, an absolute win. And again, but he's got that currency to be literally pop down and spend a couple of hours with people to keep them in the loop what's going on, because a lot of times things take a while. You know, we put some grant funding in, we might not know for a year, you know, until it sort of comes to fruition. So that sort of like that communication and managing those expectations is key. But also, I think the challenges we have had with a number of residents along the way was, well, there's no point doing it because it's just going to get vandalised. ASB.
Fatalism sort of look at things,
But we've always said, but that's surely not a good enough reason not to do it.
Yeah, not to try it.
Because if we didn't do that, well, we wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, we didn't build a house.
So it's like, well, you know, we're going to give it a go. And again, but by having then, you know, that buying right from the start, you know, the primary school 200 yards up the road, you know, they designed these spaces. The Eco Club, they come down once a week and have their Eco Club outside in the community space.
Amazing.
Yeah, they do. Hence the seats. And,
I know, I love it.
And the crisp packets.
That's so good. Yeah, we were saying that. Yeah,
they've been here, you know. But again, I suppose, you know, the wider challenge is it's money. It's you know, it's life, the life cycle of community groups. You mentioned strong community leaders. You know, we've got a couple here with the real drivers. But you know, life happens. People move on. People have babies. People die. People, you know, and everything in between. And you know, community groups do wax and wane.
You do,
And I think for us as a landlord, you know, we're mindful of that, and you know, we always sort of have contingencies and mitigation strategies in place. Like, you know, if there are any damage to any parts of projects, you know, we always have a contingency.
To make sure.
But I think fundamentally alongside that, it's the engagement that is running, you know, in parallel with all the endeavours, is to keep the message going. This is for you. This is what you're doing. But then that restorative piece.
Yeah, and I think the best thing you said there is the communication and the involvement of the community. Because if you just put something on them and go, this is for you, this is a present, you know, and
I didn't want it. I didn't want it.
Well, they didn't know they wanted it, you know. If you've got the kids involved, and I think that's the best way to get into a community is through the children, you know. They come home, they tell mummy and daddy, you know, they go, this is amazing. The grandfather's like, oh, this is cool, I'll come and see this, you know, and they come to an open day. If the forest school comes here, or their eco school come here and have their classes. But people aren't going to destroy that because they want it to be good for their kids and they want their kids to have a good time. Again, we've talked about the horticultural level 1, investing in people and taking people along with you and it's hard. It's not the easiest thing to do. There's reasons why people haven't done it, because it's not the easiest way to go about things. But if you don't do that, then whatever you do won't happen in the long run. It'll be a very short-term thing. If you take everybody along with you, you collaborate, and you invest your time into the people that you're trying to help, the answer is what you want will happen in the long run. And that's all these things are long term, which is where it aligns beautifully. To be honest, there's so many ways that it aligns to the future generation, through involvement, through collaboration, through long term, preventative, because the healthy benefits to children. I always go on about my garden. I didn't really become a gardener till I was 30. I was brought up in a concrete schoolyard and a concrete back garden. My daughter's at a forest school from the age of 4, full time, as in like once a week. The kids up there are having it. They're going to have a completely different view of society, of nature when they get older. And the things that we hold dear now, they'll hold dear when they're in their teens. So I really look forward to see what's going to happen in the next 10 years. So a couple of questions left. So this is a nice one. Where do you see opportunities for collaboration across Wales? So maybe across housing associations or in the projects that you do?
Well, funny enough, it's already happening.
Please tell me more.
Our Growth for Good sort of movement. I mean, it started as a project, and it's. I think this is in its 4th year. It's becoming a bit of a movement now.
Okay, good.
So we've last year I did a presentation at one big housing conference.
Yeah.
Which is like the housing association's like mecca.
That's great.
It's amazing. Yeah, 2 days of housing stuff. So if you're a housing geek, it's fantastic. So I did a presentation about this particular project, Growth for Good, and all of again, sustainability ambitions and the 5 ways of working that future generations ways of working.
Tech.
And it really, you know, I think it really kind of piqued a lot of the audience's interest because, you know, it's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So we've now got a network. So we've got the likes of Titarion, Monmouthshire, Bargain Housing. We're chatting with who else we're chatting with? A few others. I think they're coming down to talk about how have we done this?
Yeah, how we actually implemented this project.
What's going on? And so we've had an inaugural network meeting, a bit of a swap sharing of, you know, who are we, what we're doing, and you know we're going to be doing this now every quarter because I think it's really peaking because a lot of landowners, social housing, they're in a similar position. They're quite a large landowner, but also we've got a few housing associations who are not, as you say, you know, they've got a lot of stock, but they haven't got much land.
Yeah.
What elements of this could we do? You know, like smaller pockets of forests and growing spaces. So I think going forward, the ambition is to grow the network.
Fantastic.
And obviously for us as a landlord is to grow the offer.
Yeah.
You know, of forests and projects. We've recently secured some money from Moondance Foundation.
Well done.
So we're putting in another community growing space in Sarn, and we've just put another tiny forest in. So I think the ambition is over you know the next sort of 5-10 years is to have, you know, more of these everywhere.
Well, I may as well ask the last question, which when you think 20 years ahead,
okay,
what does a thriving Welsh green economy or housing association estate look like? And how will young people feel the impact of the decisions being made today? And you sort of just touched on it, and I can definitely see an amazing answer. So I'll let you answer.
Well, I think fundamentally, I think what's really, for me, 20 years down the line, what I'd love to see, and I think there are green shoots, is that green economy, those green skills, those green skills academy. You know, when we're looking at our youngsters now coming through the education system, wondering what to do. You know, I think the opportunity now is to really highlight the importance of these green jobs. You know, we work, all the contractors that we've used on all of our projects, they're local community interest companies. You know, we don't look at big contractors. We want to keep work local, but we work quite a lot with Green Space SOS. Who
they were on the show.
I do believe you met them before, and they are
which is perfect. You know,
they are an amazing example of how they bring through new talent, new interest. Genuinely, you know, they offer work experience. So for me, I think green skills is really key. Obviously, more forest, more growing spaces.
I know. 20 years. What's this going to look like?
Well, 20 years, it'll be bigger than you and I.
I hope a lot bigger than you and I, you know?
Well, why don't we come back in 20 years? We'll walk through. Yeah.
we'll zip through on our little...
We'll skip through in 20 years' time, Gareth. Come on.
We will. Sorry, we will.
Through. Scary
thing in 20 years. But I think that's why long-term is so important, because we all shy away from 20 years, because no one wants to think about 20 years.
Sure.
But actually, and again, when you look at anything green projects based or sustainability based, the long term is far more exciting.
It is.
And you're saying again, you know, the skills, the jobs that we're creating, the jobs, and if you've got, let's say hypothetically, all the collaborations worked out, you may have 50 to 150 of these little bad boys all over South Wales and West Wales and East Wales.
Yeah.
And you're going to need people to manage those.
You will. You absolutely will.
This all needs managing.
Yeah.
A good woodland is a managed woodland. That does not mean a clean woodland, because they need to have fallen branches, fallen trees, because that does all the invertebrates and all the flora. But someone's got to manage that.
Yeah, nature is messy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, nature is messy, and you know that long-term thinking. You know, the residents and the school, they planted each of these trees. So you know, everyone will have. But there's a citizen science element to these projects. So it's not just we plant them and we hope for the best. So we've got an estates team. So every month they'll give a drive-by and an eyes on.
Yeah.
You know, but essentially, the communities and the stakeholders are coming in once a month or every 2 months, and a number of these trees are tagged. So, and we have biodiversity tiles as well in here.
Biodiversity tiles?
Yeah. So there's about 6 or 8 tiles in each forest.
I'm going to take you in, okay? Carry on.
So the Eco Club at the primary school, that's one of their jobs.
Right.
So everyone gets a job and a task. You know, everyone's got homework for this. So periodically, every couple of months, they'll lift up the biodiversity tile, and count what vertebrates, what they see, what bugs are under there. Our forests, all the tiny forests in the UK, are logged on the Tiny Forest website.
Yeah.
So then you can click on there and you can work out, right, if you want to volunteer, you can volunteer and do some citizen science activities. But then the onus on that management of the trees and that natural surveillance is on with the community. So as a landlord, we're the backstop.
Yeah. Facilitator.
We're the facilitator, but ultimately the day to day, the month to month, it's the communities who are managing the woodland.
I love that. I need to see one of these biodiversity tiles. I'm so excited. I'm like, where are they?
I don't know whether they're going to find them. That's another job.
They know where they are. I'll have to go and see them. So this is the last question, and it's the nicest one. So who else in Wales is doing brilliant sustainability work that deserves to be showcased and why? And I asked this question because I like to be led by the interviews of where I go on GreenWales. It helps with my transparency, and it kind of normally brings really, I only came to you because of Green Space SOS mentioned you, you know?
Sure.
And you got mentioned by a few other companies. I was like, gotta come and see him.
Gotta come and see
Gotta come and see him. And I give you a call and I was like, I had the best conversation on the phone ever. I was like, I cannot wait. And we're here. And yeah, the proof's in the pudding. So who would you send me to go and see next?
Well, I'm delighted that you found the time, Gareth. It's been fabulous. I mean, there are lots doing some really good stuff in this space.
You can name 2 or 3 max if you're like really like, if you've got a core one, great. If you've got 3, you can do 3.
I think one that's, unless you've seen them, but definitely worth a look, are Ty Callon.
Ty Callon, okay.
Ty Callon are doing a very similar project, and their project is called Flourish and Thrive.
Ooh, and where are they about?
They Blaen y Gwent.
Okay, amazing. I was in Blaen y Gwent the other day. I was by Goldworks doing one of my sustainability workshops.
There we are.
Amazing place. And the stuff they've done in Blaen y Gwent for regeneration there, I think is great.
I think they're definitely worth the next shout.
I will definitely go there. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Oh, I actually have a little gift for you. 2 seconds. Yes, hold on, caller. I normally do this in advance and I completely forgot. So I'm back. I'm here. I'm back. I got my back because I'm getting the present out, okay? Everybody gets a present. So,
my breath is bated.
It's a big present. No, it's not. It's a lovely... So we'd like to welcome you to GreenWales. You're going to be part of the collective. So what we do is we have a collective. Everybody who comes on the show is part of the collective. Every quarter, what we do, we don't do a newsletter.
Right.
We call it a collaboration station.
Right.
Where we put everybody together in an email and we might go, what's your opportunities? What are you looking for?
Brilliant.
We connect people together.
Awesome.
So at Beacon, we connect them with Wool Insulation Wales. Right. They're insulation panels, which they built, which we might be able to do with you as well.
Yes.
They're all grown in Wales, all natural, no plastic. It cleans the air. It's amazing. And they've gone, we need these people. And we just gone, yeah, there you go. We put you together straight away. Wow. So you'll be part of that now.
A community connector.
But we try to be. We try to be a Welsh community connector for all different businesses.
I feel I've arrived.
Welcome.
I feel I've arrived, Gareth.
The last thing we do, which is the nice thing, we just wave to camera and we say goodbye. So 1, 2, 3, bye.